Hello, my name is Jessica Caney, and I'm making this YouTube video for the Productive and Counterproductive Behaviors in the Workplace assignment for Psych 516 at Liberty University Online. I'm going to be answering 5 questions. The first question is, how have recent historical events affected the course of research in organizational psychology? Give an example of an event and the resulting outcome. First, diving into organizational psychology, I think it's important to describe exactly what organizational psychology is. Our textbook states it involves a scientific study of individual and group behavior in formal organizational settings. So we're focusing more on the behaviors of the employees in an organization. Hearing this definition, you can imagine how important the field of research is involving this, as we want to motivate those employees to do the best they can to be the best for that organization, as it is the employees that run the organization for the most part. Psychology is still very young in this field of study. The field itself is only a little over 100 years old. As it grows, research continues to grow with it. One of the first times industrial and organizational psychology really took off is when researchers discovered the Hawthorne effect. This discovery found that people would respond positively to any novel change in the work environment. In today's world, this effect might take place when a challenging change is made in a person's job. This could be good, this could be bad. The person would respond positively according to the Hawthorne effect, but the effect would not last for long. For me, this is extremely relevant because we all have just been through a big change in the world and in our jobs considering COVID-19 and working through the pandemic. So as you can guess, the most recent historical event that I'm going to choose to talk about today is COVID-19 and the pandemic, and what it was like to work through that and how it can affect research. Many organizations, in an attempt to keep their employees safe, have given the option of working from home. Most organizations give you the option to choose whether you want to work from home or come into the office. This is for employees to stay safe. This has created unique research contexts where employees get to choose their work location. What a weird concept. A recent research article wanted to examine the daily stressors experienced while working during the pandemic and how they may influence employees' decision to work from home or work from the office. So it's kind of diving deep into why do they choose to work from home and why do they choose to work from the office. Results of this research found that when employees experience stressors in the office, they typically work from home the next day, and when they experience stressors at home, they go into the office the next day. How nice and convenient. This COVID-19 pandemic and the now option to work from home on any given day has influenced research to lean towards how to motivate employees when they're not in the office. How can we all socialize? What's the best way to get to know each other? How do new employees feel like a team? And what factors can contribute to things such as socialization? I will be interested to see in the following years how my company itself changes as we start to work from home and provide telehealth. Research will increase and continue to grow as we discover how to motivate employees to work from the home in their own environment. The second question I'm going to address states, describe the socialization process for graduate students in your program. Is the program successful in socializing newcomers and creating job embeddedness? First, I want to describe the socialization process that I experienced as a grad student. For Liberty University Online, I think they have done a great job of making this outsider feel like an insider. Socialization is ultimately about learning to do your job effectively. Our job as graduate students is to participate, study, complete assignments, make connections, and take all of this education and apply it to the real world. Another big thing Liberty does a great job in is connecting us all by reminding us that we are brothers and sisters in Christ, and that we lean on each other together to reach this goal of becoming champions of Christ. These were all the things I had been provided with right off the bat as a student to be able to feel included and supported. This process has showed me that socialization in employees will be so important when I'm working with an organization. To have someone be new, you want them to feel included in your company, just like Liberty has made me feel included in this online program. Nobody wants to feel like an outsider. Some may think since this program is online, that it might be a little bit harder to socialize or to complete the socialization process, but it hasn't been. The socialization process for me as a graduate student started off with welcoming emails, physical mail to my house, welcoming emails from professor, connections to introductory discussion boards to be able to get to know my classmates and respond to one another. Resources that have 24-hour access, such as the library. I've gotten phone calls, mail, emails from admissions, and study groups even organized by professors of each class. Each of these things took me through the process of socialization. I feel this program is successful in socializing newcomers and creating job embeddedness by following these specific steps that I experienced. Making sure I had a realistic picture of the program. Before starting, I was presented with all the classes and courses I'd have to complete, what materials were expected for me to buy, and what the cost was overall going to be. And then, specifically within each course, I'm provided with a syllabus and course expectations and the schedule of each class. Second, I began to see what this program was all about. Once I was in, feeling more like an insider, I was getting weekly modules that had expectations of each assignment and each reading and each learning experience throughout each week. By then, the third step, I was familiar with the schedule and expectations of each professor. As I got grades back, I knew the exact expectations that each professor had and was able to grow and go from there. The LU grad program has done a great job with job embeddedness by making me, as a student, feel connected to professors, other students that come from all around the world, and I feel like I'll be able to take this education and apply it to the real world with confidence. The third question I'm going to talk about states, how can an organization reduce or prevent work-family conflict? I believe antecedents of work-family conflict will be the key to reducing or preventing work-family conflict in most organizations. Antecedents are things that happen before the behavior that can help decrease or totally prevent the behavior from happening. These antecedents can come in 3 different categories: work, family, and individual. Meaning, we can do things to prevent work conflict, family conflict, and individual conflict to prevent overall work-family conflict. First, I'm going to discuss work antecedents. Aspects of any job can influence if and how an employee experiences conflict because of work. High pressure, stress, unpredictability, unorganized supervisors, and long hours can contribute to work-family conflict. To avoid this conflict, organizations can provide mentoring and social support from coworkers. Having someone you can relate to at work that understands exactly what you're going through and just being able to talk to them either as a mentor or just as a coworker can sometimes be a deal breaker for helping with stress. Next, I'm going to talk about some family antecedents. Children that require childcare, partner stress, as in partners that report to have unhealthy attachment styles, and people that put family way above work and family importance are a few of the things that add to work-family conflict from the family perspective. To avoid these conflicts in an organization, the organization can provide access to childcare and therapy for employees when needed. Last, I'm going to talk about some individual antecedents. Everyone in an organization may be more likely than another to have work-family conflict. This is the time that it is important to realize that each employee is different, and each employee is going to respond to different stressors in life and their individual self in different ways. So an organization needs to realize that each individual needs to be met at their own needs. An organization needs to make all efforts to balance work and family conflict. Work-family policies can be put into place to ensure that each employee is able to complete work and non-work roles. Organizations that offer these family-friendly benefits package can bring great benefits to the organization, such as on-site daycare, exercise facilities, flex time, time off, telecommuting, and any benefits for children, their personal health, or their elders. These resources will be beneficial in overall reducing work-family conflict. An additional point I want to make is that these resources in an organization that can prevent work-family conflict need to include supportive supervisors and a supportive working environment. If an organization does not allow access to a supportive supervisor or personal coping opportunities, the employee will not feel comfortable to use these resources that are provided. So having like the comfortable, welcoming, supportive work environment is the biggest step so that employees can use these resources to have less work-family conflict. The fourth question I'm going to address states, imagine that you have been asked to develop a performance assessment program for employee development. What techniques would you use to adequately evaluate employee performance as comprehensively as possible? My first thought when reading this question is that job performance is considered a behavior, so it's hard to measure directly just by watching. Definitely depending on the job, this would probably be adjusted some. So it's important to include many different perspectives of job performance assessment in order to capture it accurately. When I say perspectives, I mean from coworkers, from bosses, from admissions, from yourself as well. I would develop a performance assessment program for employee development that accurately captures job performance of an employee, most importantly by ratings of employees' performance on specific tasks and ratings of overall performance on their job. These are the two most popular things that are typically used in an assessment. This could be conducted through paper-pencil multiple choice questions. In today's world, this would probably be electronically. This paper-pencil multiple choice electronic test would be a job skills test. I think this test would be very important to do first to make sure the employee is accurately doing the job. We don't want to evaluate and have a performance review if they're not performing correctly. So this test would include basic job performance questions and scenarios to ensure that the employee is first accurately doing the job that we're going to assess. I would then include a survey that goes out to other employees and coworkers that ensures the individual is a team worker. This might be a little tricky considering the size of most organizations, but it would have to be anonymous, and the pool would be a group of randomly selected employees that do work close with this employee. I want to make sure this individual is a team worker and a team player and productive to the company. I would then evaluate attendance records. This may seem not important, but attendance records such as tardiness, length of breaks, and call-outs can really add to an organization. Making sure that that employee follows and understands whatever attendance policy is in place is going to be really important. Lastly, I would include a section of the program where the employee is able to speak on their own behalf and talk about or present what they think they have done well. An employee should be seen and rewarded for extra work and performance. And I believe in a big part of an evaluation and a job performance assessment would be to know what they think they're doing well. And if they are doing these things well and extra things, they should acknowledge these things before giving any critical feedback in an assessment. In the feedback with the employee, I would include what an employee can improve on so they can be motivated until the next assessment comes. The last question that I'm going to discuss states, what are some possible common organizational constraints? How could they lead to counterproductive behaviors? A constraint is any limitation or restriction in an organization that could potentially cause counterproductive behaviors. Most employees produce productive behaviors, and these employees perform well because they're often in an organization that provides motivational leadership and encouragement and rewards good behaviors. So let's look a little bit into why counterproductive behaviors would be present in an employee. Unfortunately, more employees will engage in counterproductive behaviors than you think. These behaviors in an organization can look like tardiness, being rude intentionally to others, and 100 different other behaviors that an employee can choose to engage in. According to Spector and Fox, Counterproductive work behavior is defined as acts that harm or are intended to harm organizations or people in organizations. So, not good things. Behaviors that do not add to the organization, that are unwanted in the organization, and that typically go against some rules. These things do not contribute to growth or to the organization in any way. Counterproductive work behaviors are caused by both characteristics of the person and characteristics of the situation. And most likely, they're caused by the interactions between characteristics of people and the characteristics of situations. The most common organizational constraints lead to these counterproductive behaviors. The first one I'm going to talk about as a counterproductive behavior is comes from being treated unjustly by the organization or people within the organization. An example of this would be poor pay. So if an employee is always coming in late, counterproductive behavior, always leaving early, a counterproductive behavior, or kind of wasting time on the clock, this would be a way of showing counterproductive work behaviors due to that organization not treating them justly. A lot of counterproductive work behaviors come from employees feeling like they're being treated unpoorly. Next is the absentee. This could be due to organizations not having in place absence control policies that are fair and discourage employees from unnecessary absences. If an employee is always late but they're never really getting in trouble for it, or there is no policy that says after 5 absences you're fired, then what's the point of always being on time? I think companies fail a lot of time in not having these policies in place for employees to follow, so there's consequences if there are unnecessary absences. Another counterproductive work behavior is abuse of others and can come from a stressful work environment. A stressful work environment can come from workplace abuse of your supervisor and social undermining. These organizational constraints lead to feelings of frustration, and when these feelings are in low control, counterproductive work behaviors are present. So a company really needs to be able to handle these feelings of frustrations that come up, and having policies in place to be able to overall prevent counterproductive work behaviors. These 5 questions address the key components and issues that come up in organizational psychology within an organization, and I hope me discussing them was a little bit helpful to understanding what we can do to prevent these things. Thank you.